Hello, Wastebusters, and welcome to the June episode of Waste Not, Want Not. It feels really significant and somewhat serendipitous to bring you this episode today on World Ocean Day. And I don't know if any of you have seen the film with David Attenborough, but he shows us the innate intelligence of our external world, how nature herself has an amazing ability to flourish. We too have an innate intelligence, but we are very disconnected from it. Our perception is limited to our five senses. But my guest today, Eunice Stott, runs the New Zealand School of Psychic Arts, and she has an amazing ability to connect to the cosmos and bring that external intelligence forward so that we have a deeper understanding of ourselves and our part in it. Now, you don't have to believe in the psychic arts, but as I say in my podcast, open your mind to a world of possibilities. Eunice is a very grounded, scrumptious human being who has had her own experiences that has enabled her to embrace this amazing connection. I'm beyond excited today because I found somebody who's definitely on my wavelength, and that is Eunice Stott, who is from the New Zealand School of Psychic Arts. Welcome to the show, Eunice.
Thank you, Philippa, and thank you for finding me. This is a real treat to have a chat to someone who's like-minded.
Brilliant. I'm intrigued by the fact that New Zealand has its very own version of Hogwarts, which is what it says on your website.
It does. I wish we had the building to go with it, but we will. One day, we will.
And what does psychic arts mean?
It's called the New Zealand School of Psychic Arts because I was actually asked to call it that by Spirit. And I said to them, oh, isn't that a bit pretentious? And they said to me, that's what we want you to call it. I taught small groups for years beforehand, and this was like a reinvention of it. So I said to them, well, I have to go and check the company's office to make sure that that name is available. And they said, well, it is, obviously, otherwise we wouldn't have suggested it. So I wasted half an hour and they said, all right. And I went, okay, then. So that's why we called it that. Psychic arts basically covers all the modalities. I teach spiritual mediumship, which is slightly different to mediumship, so I understand. Telepathy, clairvoyance, clairsentience, clairaudience, and all the other clairs in between. I like to feel into that more as the psychic arts, which also includes crystals and bark flowers and Akashic records, all sorts of things that you wouldn't normally perhaps think of when you think of a psychic. You think of them probably as just clairvoyance and mediumship, but I expand that out.
Spirit was right, obviously. And I think it's yummy that you put the word art on the end because to me, art is about an expression of the person. What I really love about this opportunity to talk to you is the very fact that I can break through the conventional thinking and the dogma and the doctrine, because a lot of people are using the expression woo woo, which I absolutely abhor. I had to have a look in the dictionary. It actually means the unconventional belief in spirituality, mysticism, and alternative medicine with little or no scientific basis. Just from a very layman's perspective, to me, our senses are very limited in a great big quantum field of information, what I call the cosmic intelligence. We need people like you to open our minds to all the other things. And it's yummy that you've got this connection and these gifts.
Thanks. I was very sensitive and I was an empath as a child. And then I realized that's what was going on. But I didn't have visions or see angels or anything like that.
Right.
My grandmother was psychic, but she didn't do very much with it. My cousin was psychic. She didn't really do anything with it. It wasn't really one of those things that I was brought up with. I didn't feel any connection as a child, so I didn't really pay a lot of attention to anything happening, apart from fairies. Fairies in the woods. I never really saw them, but oh, I wanted to. Now I can, which is really cool. I was quite lonely as a child. I was an only child. So when you are quite isolated in a way, you don't trust what's coming to you. I was in my 30s when I arrived in New Zealand, and I was miserable. I looked at the ceiling and I just said, look, I've tried it my way. It isn't working. I really need help. What do I do? Can someone help me? There was nobody. I had absolutely nobody, Philippa. Nobody. Even the
Wow.
cat went out. I had nobody. And this warmth, oh my gosh, it just flowed around my shoulders. And this feeling of calm and support, it was unbelievable. I managed to pull myself together. Sounds so pathetic, but I managed to go down the road to the fish and chip shop and I bought myself dinner. And next to the fish and chip shop, age now, 80s, I went to the local video shop next door and I got the Three Amigos movie out. The cat came in. And, do you know, we had the best night. I laughed, the cat laughed, we all laughed. It was great. And at the end of that, I made a decision. I said, right, I'd rather be on my own and happy than continue where I'm at. It took me a long time, but eventually I managed to have the strength and the support from upstairs, and I made the changes that needed to be made. It wasn't until about 3 years later, and I had met my lovely husband. He said to me, because I was a drama teacher as well, he said, would I cover a theatre sports class for him? So I taught this class, and this woman in this class said to me, oh, she said, we're going to be friends. And I thought, oh, I can't imagine it. I'm sure you're very nice, but you're so different to me. You've got red hair and you're really loud and we're very different. Anywho, she found out that we lived close to each other and she would come on the way home from work and she'd knock on the front door and she'd say, hello, thought I'd say hello. And I went, don't know what to talk to you about. And so being English, as you know, Philippa, we invite people in for tea.
It's on our best behavior. Yeah.
Would you like a cup of tea? What am I saying? Yes, I will. Oh, good. This went on for a period of time. And eventually she said to me, oh, Eunice, I have to say, there's this guy standing behind you. He's 18. His name's Steve. He's in black motorcycle leathers. He said he was killed in a motorbike accident when you were both 18. And he's been trying to get your attention for years. Do you know who he is? And I nearly dropped the teacup because it was all true.
Wow.
And that was the shift. I went, I need to understand this. I need to know what's going on. That was the beginning of my awakening, really.
Wow. Yeah. When was that? Mid-80s?
That would have been late 80s.
Right. I noticed that you started the school in 2004. What did you do in between? You obviously acquiring all those skills because Steve had hooked you in and now you had to do something with it.
Yeah, that's right. Judith and I and another girl, Linda, we got together and didn't know what we were doing, but we got together about every Friday and we gave it a go. And Judith was most experienced, so she'd try and teach us the clairvoyance, and she did a great job. And then she said to me, oh, you've got this Native American Indian guide. And I said, oh, yeah, right. How cliche. I was so rude. And I didn't believe that at all. I thought that was just ridiculous because everybody has one, right? So it can't be true. It's just too
good to be true. Yes.
Well, it was too expected, you know.
Right.
Or yes, I have a guy, his name's Running Water or something, you know. It's like, no. So I said, if you really are my guide, if you really are there, I want to see you 100%, full technicolor, the whole shebang, right? Forgot all about it. About 2 weeks later, my husband took me to see Douglas Wright, the theatre dancers. And we were sitting in the theatre. It really was wonderful, but it wasn't really my cup of tea. So I'm sitting there and I have to say I was a bit, when's interval? I was counting the light bulbs, thinking it's great, but I've seen it. Comes towards interval and I thought I was getting a migraine. And I thought, oh, great. My vision went, well, what was happening was manifesting center stage, this like 7 foot tall Native American Indian with a white feather and a waistcoat and the moccasins and the doe trousers standing there. I mean, he just stood there. I can see him as clearly as I can see you. And I'm going, is this a special effect? Am I having a stroke? What's going on? He presented himself, and then eventually he just kind of faded out. And it was the interval. So we went to the loo, and 5 people in front of me, 5 people behind me. I said, did you see any special effects towards the interval? What are you talking about? I said, no, we just saw the dancers. You didn't see anything else? No, not at all. That was
Wow.
white feather. And that really was him. And I was like, wow, I've got to pay attention. Fast forward a few months, and I hadn't been well. So I went to the doctor, and he said, we need to send you to a specialist. I went to the specialist. Specialist gave me an examination. He said, you're fine, nothing wrong. I bent down to pick up my handbag from the floor, and white feathers from his knees down to his feet appeared solid in front of me. And he said to me, he's wrong. Get him to redo the test. Okay. Well, specialists. And I wasn't very confident in those days. I was quite shy.
Right.
So I said, oh, look, I know you're probably right. Could you just do it again? He said, excuse me? Could you just do the test again, please? And he said, oh, well, it's a waste of time, but you're my last patient, so yes, all right. And I'm not kidding. The second time he did it, he went as white as a sheet, and I was in hospital within a week.
Wow.
Honestly, otherwise I might not be here.
Wow.
I know. So from that moment on, I
Paid attention.
I paid attention, but not only that, I trusted him. Then in 2004, when Spirit said to me, okay, we want you to start teaching this stuff, I laughed and said, teach? I can't even do it. I mean, I'm just winging it as I go. I need you to teach me techniques. And if you teach me those because I'd gone to some other classes and it hadn't really made much sense to me. So they did. They started teaching me this process that I now teach. And they said, right, now, these few people, and they point well, vaguely. They said, well, contact them because they're really interested in this work and get them round and try them out. So I said, all right. So I did, and it worked. And I thought, fantastic. The problem was that those people, lovely as they were hobbyists. They just wanted to do it as a hobby. They weren't serious about the work. They weren't serious about their self-development. I did this for a wee while, and then I shut it down, and I said to Spirit, no, unless I have people that really want to learn and are light workers and are going to carry this work forward and put their unique spin on it, should it be needed, then there is no point, because it's just too heartbreaking. It's too much hard work, and it's not really appreciated. So I'm not doing it.
What do you mean by light worker? I've come across the expression, but what is your definition of light worker?
Oh, gosh. Well, we know that we're different. We know that we are here to heal in some way, whether
Yeah.
it's talking to a neighbor in a friendly way and cooking them a meal, or whether it's something more than that, whether it's becoming a Reiki healer or working with Eileen Brennan's technique, or a massage therapist, or even a beauty therapist. They're the ones who sit there, and Tracy will tell them all about Mike and how they're not happy. They're getting it all out of the system. And that lovely beautician, the light worker, is listening to all of that, and in her own way will be transmuting that stress for the client. So there's loads of us now. It's just that when we call ourselves light workers, it's because we are aware that we are different and we don't really fit in the same way. And I guess you can put empaths under that title. You can put sensitives under that title. There's loads of them. I found a great big list once, and I was fascinated. I'll send it to you if you like. It's fascinating. Yeah. I can't keep it all in my head, but I know what it is.
That's the point of the podcast. It's all about building the relationship between people and the planet and making the most of our natural resources. And really, you don't have to have a psychic school of arts, or you don't have to be a podcaster, writer, or necessarily a profession, but it's actually to recognize everybody has a certain gift, and it's about bringing that to the fore. You don't have to take center stage in order to do it, but to use that gift to add value, I think, which is so, so important.
Yeah, I completely agree. And then there are some people who are not on that path at all. And that's right as well, because
Yeah.
that's where they're at. It's not that we're better than anybody else. It's just we're at a different process in our evolution, isn't it? We have the new age term is awakening. It just becomes awareness of, well, actually, I don't like the way this is done, or I don't like when I drink alcohol. I don't like the fact that I get angry or I get silly or I get out of control. So I'm going to change my behavior. And that in itself is the start of an awakening, the start of a change, awakening to yourself and what is important to you. And if you start to change, if you need to, and if you start to vibrate, because you will, your vibration will lift, well, that in itself has the ripple effect. It's going to affect people around you.
Yeah. I studied at an open university degree in psychology, and I found it really pigeonholed people. And it was when I came to
Mm.
New Zealand in 2004, I actually did a Reiki training. It was really for me. I can remember my husband at the time said to me, he thought I was getting very religious. And I'm anything but religious because I went to a convent and they epitomized the complete opposite of what you imagine a Christian to be like, kind and friendly. Anyway,
Yeah.
it was the quantum physics. I was really fascinated with it, and the fact that we are energy, and I believe we all vibrate at a different frequency. We come in pure, but there's so much
Mm.
shit that we absorb in life that actually distorts it. It's a matter of orchestrating life and becoming aware, like we do with an instrument, to tune ourselves back in again, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a really good way of putting it. Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah. I also feel, though, that we come in pure, and yet we do get affected by people who are bringing us up and are close to us and our environment and all those kinds of things. But
Yeah.
I do feel that sometimes those soul contracts, whether they're soul contracts or there's energies that see us as a threat, they don't want people to work in the light. They like the fear-based emotions because that's what they
Mhm.
feed off, because there's light and dark and everything, right?
Yeah.
They can sometimes impulse people to affect us. And we have
Mm.
to recognize that and step up and out of that without going into detail too much. Do you know what I mean?
I know what you mean. It's also about awareness of how we're doing things without thinking about it. And that to me is the key, because we're very robotic and it's very easy for stuff outside to affect us because we're not aware of its affecting. So it's really about saying, what are my beliefs and or the way that I'm behaving, and how is that impacting me? Is it actually mine, or is it something that my grandma said that I should be doing? And as you say, take the little steps. And if you believe in whatever is going on, then fine. But if it's not resonating with you, then you are on a slightly different vibration to create the change that you want that fits with you, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely right. And if it doesn't feel right, why doesn't it feel right?
Mm,
There's a reason it doesn't feel right. And if it's not feeling right, to me, that is your higher self, the bigger part of your soul that's still up there. The only way it can communicate with you is to
yeah.
impulse feeling.
Yeah.
And you don't pay attention if something's not feeling right or comfortable. If you don't pay attention, it's going to increase and increase and until you get to such a point you know you have a decision to make. But if you don't pay attention, you can stay where you are. It's going to stay the same. Or if you pay attention, it may feel as though it's going to be difficult to make those changes. But the minute you make that decision and you feel lighter and brighter
Mm, mm,
inside, then you're beginning to feel your true self, the authentic self. And that's the path that your soul self is encouraging you, your higher self, to take. I said once, I'm fed up of life being difficult. Can
yeah.
life be easy, please? I said, I just want life to be easy. But 3 weeks later, I belonged to a group. And the head of this group said, right, Eunice, you're at this point, you can progress to another subgroup, if you like. You've got a choice this year. You can do both, but you've got to do a year at a time. So which one do you want to do? And I said, well, I don't even know what it is. And they said, well, we can't tell you that because it's just got to be a knowing. Well, we can tell you this. and this. And I went, well, on the basis of that, I will pick this one. And she said, why? I said, because that sounds to be the hardest and difficult. So I'd like to get that out of the way. And she said, but if you choose the one that's easier for you, by the time you get to the one that's harder, that will be easier for you as well.
Ah.
And I had said, can life be made easy for me? A friend of mine said, well, I took the hard road. And I said, yeah, but you don't have to.
Isn't that the indoctrination that we think we have to struggle in order to
Mm,
succeed to become someone when we already are? And it's really about getting rid of the shit that's holding us back, and it becomes effortless. And as you say,
yeah.
once you rise up, life becomes easier and easier, and you've got the momentum like a ball.
And then you're in flow. Once you're in flow, you just got to be intuitive enough to just stay in that flow. I know that things come up. I know it's hard. Life isn't easy a lot of the time, but there are ways through it. And as we awaken, we get this intuition, don't we? Okay, I know what's going on here. And of course, with the work that I do, I teach how you can connect with your guides so that
Mm.
it's easy to understand what they're saying and how they're trying to help you.
It's that trust thing, isn't it? Because it's the connecting, you know, inside yourself, but you're battling with what you should be doing.
Yeah, there is that, I think. But it's also, as you say, it's that issue of trust. So you will have heard of the word confirmation of spirit,
Hmm.
I'm assuming.
Yeah.
It's that feeling you get. When you're on the right track with something, you get a feeling, don't you? So
Yeah.
I always say to my guides when they guide me on something, do this, or here's a thought, try that. Am I correct in understanding what you're saying to me is X, Y, Z?
Yeah.
Please give me a feeling of confirmation that I am correct. And when I'm correct, I get this cold breeze that comes in from the right hand side. Oh, and it's like a shiver. And you go, my body won't do that. I can't make that up. I can't create that feeling.
Hmm.
So I know that I'm right.
Wow. So what was the psychic arts that you first did? Was it all the clairvoyance and the clair skills?
Mm, yeah, that's right. Because I didn't have the ability to do mediumship. I couldn't understand the process that I was taught by some other people. It's too hard. I couldn't get it. And I said, I'm not doing it right. And then when I opened the school and I was teaching the clairvoyance, I said, well, I have to find someone to teach mediumship because I'm incapable. And they said, well, approach this person. So I approached a person that they suggested, and then they pulled out. They said, actually, no, we don't want to do it for whatever reason. I said, oh. I said, well, that was a waste of time, wasn't it? I totally respect their decision, but I didn't expect that. So I said to Spirit, who else do you suggest? She said, well, we told you we want you to do it. And I said, I get quite cross. And I said, and I told you, I don't know how to do it. So I can't teach you. I can't do it. Can I? I had my little, I call it my rant. They're very good with me. Honestly, this truly happened. I went to bed and I woke up the following morning and I could do it. I
Wow.
do it my way. I don't do it the other way. I do it my way. My way is like a conversation. It's where I don't say who wants to come in and have a chat. I would say, Philippa, who do you want to talk to and
Right.
why? Right. And then I go through a process of finding them wherever they are. And then when they arrive, I would be encouraging you to talk to, I'm just going to make this up and we're going to say Auntie June. So what would you want to say to Auntie June? Oh, tell Auntie June. No, you tell Auntie June she's here. Oh, all right then. So Auntie June, hello. And most people go with something like, how are you? I coach them beforehand and say, don't ask that question just yet. So
Yeah.
hello, Auntie June. Do you miss them? Do you love them? Do you wish you'd said something before they died and you hadn't got there? Yes, I do. So we get those kinds of things out the way. Meanwhile, Auntie June is settling back into her physical form, and so she communicates with me the answers. I'm also looking at her for things like microfacial expressions, body language. Is she comfortable? Is she being too funny? Is she being too monosyllabic? What's going on? I'm checking for whether she's in trauma or not. Has she passed to the light or does she not know where she is? What's going on with Auntie June? By the time we finished the conversation, and I just want to say I love you, and do you remember the time we both had ice creams at the beach and da 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 da, and Auntie June's relaxed a little bit. Is there anything I can do for you, Auntie June? It's always one of my last questions. Sometimes they have a last request, and sometimes they say, just at Christmas, remember me. And then before we let them go, because I'm balancing a lot of energy, because I'm working with the client, I'm working with the client's guides, I'm working with my guides, I'm working with Auntie June, and I'm working with Auntie June's guides. We've got a lot going on, right? And then we say to Auntie June, is there anything I can do for you? And this truly happened, this one. This was a different name, but we'll call her June. She said, oh, I'm all right. I said, do you know where you are? Because she knew she'd passed away, because some people don't know they've passed away. If they've had an accident, they don't realize that they've passed away. But she knew that. And she said, actually, no, I don't. She said, I'm just here. And I said, and where's he? She said, I don't know. I've just been hanging about. She said, you know, she said, you're the first person I've spoken to in years. I said, is that right? So I said, if you would like, I can help you. What term are you comfortable with? Heaven, or is it something? Oh, yeah, heaven. Yeah, yeah. I said, well, would you like to go to heaven and you can connect in with people that you used to know who are already there? Oh, can I do that? I said, yes, of course you can. Oh, but if I do that, then I won't be able to talk to my nephew, and my nephew's just found me. So I said, no, you're not understanding. You can go, you can have your experience and your healing and connect, but then you'll be able to come and go as you please. You can come and connect in with your nephew. And because he's learning this skill as well, he can call you in and he can connect when he's ready. Oh, I didn't know that. She said, oh, yes, I'd like to do that. I said, well, would you like to do it by yourself, or would you like me to help you? She said, well, obviously, I need your help, because if I could plan it, I'd have. But I have to ask. I don't want to presume, right?
Yeah.
So I called in a representative of the angelic realm. We said our goodbyes, and the angel just whoosh, took them away.
Wow. Must be very fulfilling for you on many levels.
It is. Honestly, I know people say words like privilege, but it genuinely is a privilege.
Yeah,
It's such
yeah.
a joy. And when you can see the client and they're relaxed and they're feeling better, they've said what they need to say or got what they needed to know. And I'm not talking about where's Granny's engagement ring. Don't ask me that, because I never find those. I'm not like
Okay.
that. This is more deeper stuff, right? But you know that the vibration has shifted from the nephew. He's more relaxed. And the vibration shifted from Auntie June. Now she knows where she is. She's got a purpose. She's being looked after. She's on to the next stage of her adventure before she may or may not choose to reincarnate, or whatever she chooses to do. And so that vibration, it has to have an effect, Philippa. It has to, not only on our planet, but across the universe. It just has to, doesn't it?
Definitely, which makes me think, because the last couple of episodes I've been broaching the subject of death. One was with an author who'd written a book called You're to Die for Life, which was really preparing for death but living to the full in the meantime. And last month I was talking to Death Without Debt, which was about making choices about how you want to celebrate your life when the time comes. And it made me think of my father, because he didn't have a belief in anything before he passed, yet he seemed fairly peaceful. I can remember being in the hospital and whispering in his ear, it's okay to let go. And we had this thing where I put my hand on my heart, and we just look at each other, and there was a knowing. And he opened his eyes at that point. He couldn't lift his hand up. But oh, what a privilege just to be in that space. And my hope was always that he found that peace. I think some of the stories I've heard, the doctrine of the church has held people back. They're scared to let go.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. And that's when you can check in and see, did you go or didn't you go? I always remember a situation where the client really wanted her grandfather to have passed into the light, to heaven, and he hadn't. And he just didn't want to. He was struggling with the fact of doing that. He didn't necessarily want to be in limbo, for the want of a better word, either, but he just couldn't understand it. The client was insisting, this is good for you, you must go. And I had to step in and say, I'm sorry, but we can't, I don't feel it's right to say that. This is his free will.
Mm-hmm.
He has every right to take as much time as he wants, whether
Yeah.
he does or he doesn't. It's his choice. So because this woman was his granddaughter, he agreed to a conversation with an angel. So we brought an angel in. It was interesting because like a plinth appeared and he sat on it and the angel sat on it. Now, what they talked about, I do not know. We're not privy to that at all. You could see it, but you couldn't hear it. And then eventually he stepped forward and the angel stayed where he was. And he said, I've listened. I've heard everything that the angel has said. And I've decided I'm still going to stay here for a while longer.
Oh.
The client wasn't happy. And I said, but it's his choice. You cannot force someone to do something that they're not ready for.
And that's the
So
same
we
here as well, isn't it, really? And that's really the purpose of the podcast, is just to share information outside of what people know so that they can integrate it and choose whether they wish to explore it or not.
absolutely. And of course, this is only my experiences and my belief. I'm not saying you need to trust me. No,
Yeah.
don't. Find out for yourselves. It's what I know, what I've experienced. I'll never forget the woman who said, I want to talk to my sister-in-law. And I said, okay, why? And she said, because her children are not coping with her having died and they're really stressing out. So we called her in. They were delightful people. I'm laughing, but it was such a delight. They were very funny. I've got the sister-in-law saying to the one in spirit, I can't remember the name, call her Sharon. It wasn't Sharon. Sharon, you got to do something. Dylan's losing the plot and he's just not coping. And Sharon said, what am I going to do? I'm dead. And she said, well, I know, but I thought you could like impulse him or something. And she said, well, I've been doing that and he's not listening, is he? And she, oh, this went on for a bit. And then eventually I got everybody calmed down. Sharon in spirit said, now listen, you got to listen to me. You have to go and see Dylan this afternoon. You got to make sure he's all right. I passed this message on really firmly. And I said, I'd really like to know what happens. I got a phone call and the woman rang me and she said, I'm letting you know what happened. She said, well, I didn't go. She said, I couldn't. She said, I had to go to work. I rang my son and I said, I've been to see a psychic. And your Auntie Sharon says, can you go round? So he did. And she said, thank God, because he was about to take an overdose.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah.
You
Bless.
know, what happens after that, I don't know. But that really rocked me, quite frankly. And with all the fun and the laughter of the crazy conversation these two women were having and everything else, the fact is that I was able to get the person in spirit in control enough to give a really serious message to the sister-in-law, and the sister-in-law heard it and action was taken.
Well, the nephew heard it because he could quite easily have dismissed it. Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah. So
But she
if
did something about it. She didn't
yeah,
say, well, I'm at work, so I'll go tomorrow. She
yeah.
didn't. She made the call and then her son took it from there. I mean, how fantastic is that? From really, I've been to see a psychic. All right, you know.
Yeah. Again, you know deep inside, don't you, whether to act on something. Going back to the woo-woo,
Mm.
it's not something that we can scientifically quantify because it is intangible. And I think that's the important thing. There's so much more out. The magic out there is just phenomenal. What about the Akashic records then? Were you drip fed all these skills over time, or were you intrigued?
Mm. Yeah, I was really. And it was just always the next thing and the next thing. I can't even remember why I got into the Akashic records, to be quite frank, Philippa. It was such a long time ago, but I ended up hearing about them and I bought a book written by Linda Howe. And I thought, well, this is a real practical how-to. So I followed the process and I got into the Akashic records. Wow, I'm in. And I started talking to the beings of the records. I thought, whoa, this is fantastic. And I said, I'd like to understand XYZ. And they took me to a past life and I saw myself and everything. I thought, wow, this is great. And then I went, what do I do now? I have no idea what I'm supposed to do now. I know I can't leave it like this. It's got to be resolved. And that's when the techniques came in on how to take it from just going into a past life and seeing it, and then
Yeah.
talking to yourself in a past life, and then learning how you can rescind a vow and change your life now, and how you can help your past self reconnect with those they've lost and then transition to the light. That's where it evolved to. But at that point, I just went in and I stood there and I could see myself in this past life and I went, I don't know what to do. And this voice said, and that's because you didn't continue reading. You only got to read page 182 and the rest of the information is on 195. And I went, oh.
So you're very curious and impulsive then.
Yeah, I know, right. As I'm in here in the moment, can you tell me what I'm supposed to do so I don't just leave it? And they went, okay. They talked me through it and it was brilliant. I mean, it was like, wow, I'd never thought of that. That's cool. I sorted all that out, came out, and they went, right, now what you can do now? So I'll finish the book. I went, yeah, good idea.
How have you found understanding a past life has helped people move on?
Well, shall I give my example for me? Is that all right?
Yes, do.
I always had this sense of guilt. And you know where a lot of it can come from. So you deal
Yeah.
with that and you might make your apologies or try to. And then you still got the guilt. That's when I became a bark flower practitioner. So you take pine. Pine is for guilt.
Right.
I took truckloads of that. I felt better, but there was still a something. I'm like, what is it? So I went into the Akashic Records and I was taken to a past life and I really did recognize myself, even though I was a man. And it was during the potato famine. And I could see myself there. I had 3 young children and a wife, and the famine had hit. I wasn't coping at all well. And who would? There was very little food. But the little money that we did have, I would go and spend it at the pub because I was blotting out the depression and the sadness and not being able to provide for the family, one thing and another. So one night they showed me, I came home, kids are crying, and my wife said, why did you do that? And I lost my temper. Unfortunately, I hit the wife too hard. That's where the guilt came from. The guilt came from not being able to provide for the family, not being a man, and then this dreadful thing that happened that I won't go into, but you can imagine it, right? So I spoke to myself from a state of balance, sympathy, and understanding, and no judgment.
Yeah.
And I said to me, tell me, just tell me what happened and tell me how you're feeling about it. Well, this is what happened and this is how I feel. And I could see it. I could see it all happen. It's like you're watching TV. You can see it happen. He said, I just can't forgive myself for it. I talked him through it. And I said, look, it was a dreadful thing and you should never have done that. But you did. And you can't hold on to this guilt forever. Did you make a vow? And he said, yes, I made a vow never to let go of this guilt, never to be happy because I'm not worthy. And so again, through clairvoyance, through my guides guiding me on what to say, right? It's not just me doing it. You're getting support and guidance. I talked him through the process and I said, now what I can do for you, if you will do something for me. And I told him who I was, I'm you in the future, rah, rah, rah. I said, I need you to rescind this vow. I need you to understand that what you said then you meant, but how it's not helping you, me, now in the future. We talked it through. He understood. I said, if you do that, then for you, I will bring your family back and I will send you all into the light together for healing. That was the
Wow.
deal. He did his bit and I did my bit. And oh my God, what a reunion. And she was wonderful, the wife. She understood and she forgave him the stresses, the pressures, the starvation. They were all hugging and kissing and crying. And then an angel came and we said our goodbyes, do what you have to do in the records. You disconnect, send them off. And then just before I came back, you could then go back to the Lords, being masters of the records. Is there anything else I need to know? And they went, yeah, you do. They showed me him now. You're just sitting on top of a grassy knoll in Ireland. And you're looking out, and he was so peaceful. When I came back, I'm not joking, Philippa, the guilt had gone.
Wow.
I've never felt it again, ever.
Powerful, isn't it? How can you actually scientifically prove that? It's experiential, isn't it?
That's all it is. You have to be open to that and try it. Don't knock it for other people. If other people get benefit from it, so long as it's from someone that they feel, the practitioner, they feel they trust. If there's any red flags or they don't feel they trust them, or the practitioner doesn't put them at ease, doesn't explain everything, because you know me now, I'm big into explanation and detail, right? It's
Yeah.
important. Do you understand? Are you feeling this? Is it blah? Is it this? Is it that?
I think the big thing is that connection. I find in my own work, it's about building that relationship. And you don't like everybody and they don't have to like you. But if you resonate, that is the connection and that is where you can help one another.
Yeah, and I mean, there are some people I say, "I'm not the person for
Yeah.
you." Very honest about that. If I'm not the teacher for you, or I'm not the healer for you, I'm just not. Because you just know there's a something that just isn't right. It's just not gelling. And so I'm just open and honest about that. And they go, "What?" And I go, "Honestly, I'm not. You need to find someone that you feel comfortable with, and I'm not it." And that's all right. There's not many, but it does happen occasionally.
That takes courage to do that. You've obviously learned because you have that trusting relationship with the guides, but for like a logical side of things, to be able to do that without it affecting your confidence. But it's probably not even on your dial now.
No, it really isn't, because just as you say, you just know, and if I'm not the right person, I'm not going to do the best job that needs to be done for that person. It needs to be the right person,
Absolutely. Yeah. Is there any
you
other
know?
gifts that you've acquired that you want to talk about?
Oh,
You
um,
mentioned fairies at the beginning. How have they helped?
oh, they're so cool. I mean, I'm still working with them. I'm still learning. So I can't talk about a lot because I haven't done it yet. They've asked me to teach facilitators so that they can give healings to people, so that they can find parts of their lost or fractured souls, so they can be whole, so that we can reconnect with the angelic realm and the elemental realm and the fairy realm, Pan and everybody in between, like we used to, so that we're all working together. There's a cooperation between mankind, the angels, and the
Hmm.
fairy and the elemental realm. That's my next big project. That came about because I've always loved fairies and the Peter Pan and the whole thing, but you kind of think, oh, it's probably made up. But there was a something, I didn't know what it was. Anyway, it was before COVID, and I was at a spiritual market, and I used to go there to sell bark flower blends that I used to make and also talk about the school. And I just finished setting up. I was in the Titirangi community house, far left at the back corner. There's amazing energy in there. My table was there, and a friend of mine, Derek, who does Reiki, he was next to me. And I could feel this energy. And I turned around, and honestly, I'm not kidding you, this fairy appeared, and she was about 5'4" and cliche, long wavy hair. Oh my God, she was stunning. A little sort of garland around her head, and there was a crystal in the middle, and the wings and the whole shebang, right? And I went, oh, I said, hello. She said, hello. She said, I just wanted you to see me. And I said, thank you. And I was so bamboo, I didn't know what to say. And then she just kind of disappeared. And Derek was faffing about setting up his stall. And I said, Derek, Derek. He said, what? I said, I've just seen this fairy. He said, all right. I said, no, 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 I've just seen a fairy. She was 5'4". He said, oh yeah, they can be quite big. And I said, you don't seem phased at all. He said, oh no, I see them all the time. And they live round here, just out the back. There's a little glade. A few weeks later, I went to the spiritual group I mentioned before. And I'm just sitting there waiting for it to start, waiting to go into a meditation. Hello, she said, I come here too. And I went, oh, hello. Since then, I've had more of an affinity and I can pick up little beings, and sometimes they come and talk to me. I had a whole crowd of buttercup fairies in the kitchen a few years ago, and we had a chat about the difficulties they were having at the moment because of the energies of what's going on the planet and humans, and how they pick up on the subtle energies and all the toxicity and so forth. And they said, we're really struggling to cope with all of that. It was those kinds of conversations that I'm looking at. Well, is there more I can do from my end to try and help to get the balance right so that we all can live on this planet and in our different realms, our different dimensions, but harmoniously rather than at odds with one another.
That's beautiful, the way that you're pulling it all together. Fantastic. In all your exploration, has there been a book or a person who's really influenced you?
Yes, and that is Neil Donald Walsh, who wrote Conversations with God, Book One. The others are good, but this is the one that really resonated with me. I was struggling when I first found it many years ago. I was struggling with the fact that if God is so wonderful, how are all these awful things happening to people and the planet and everything else? And when I got led to that book, I went, oh, I get it now. Free will, I understand. I started reading it. I said to my guides, I said, this title isn't doing you any good. It's going to turn people off. The other thing I loved about the book is the way that he spoke to God or whoever was giving him the information. It was such a relief because that's how I talk to my lot. As
Yeah.
you've heard, I genuinely talk to them. What do you think of this? There's very few people that I've come across that have that kind of way that they converse with spirit. But when I do, I find it delightful because I feel comfortable. It's my way of doing it.
And he's remained very grounded ever since, hasn't he?
I believe so.
It's taken me flipping years to get round to reading it. But having been tutored by nuns who were very ungodly, the word
Yeah.
God and the doctrine of the Catholic Church as well. But like you, how you've evolved knowledge and practices and integrated them into Eunice ways of doing things. For me, learning about quantum physics, and I just
Mm.
love acronyms because they help me remember things. My God is a guide of direction. And that is the energy that is my guide. And that guide is my inner GPS, which is the greater personal self. Is there any quote or specific words that have inspired you along the way?
Yeah, I looked at this and I thought of quotes and things, and I thought, that's just not really me.
Right.
Because you mentioned you might ask me this question. And I thought, I was about 11. I was watching Morecambe and Wise on the telly.
I
Uh,
remember it well.
And at the end, they always do a song.
Yes.
And it was usually Bring Me Sunshine, right?
Yep.
There are a few episodes, and I've got the lyrics here. I won't read them all, but I've got the lyrics here that really impacted me when I was that age. And I've never forgotten it. And it's positive thinking. Do you know the one?
No.
When you feel down, try positive thinking. That's what I'm told a man said. Don't wear a frown, try positive thinking. Laugh at your troubles instead. You've got to look on the bright side. On hope so much depends. With your confidence sinking, positive thinking helps you on the way, my friend. When things look black, try positive thinking. Treat every season as spring. No glancing back, try positive thinking. Trust what tomorrow may bring. This crazy world that we live in will keep on spinning round, but with good, strong, positive thinking, we'll get together and life won't get us down. That really turned me around and went, you're right. If you think positively and you can spin it, lighter, brighter, life gets easier, right?
Which leads me on to my next question. What do you do when you get yourself in a funk or you feel down?
Well, I had to think about this and I thought, oh my God, what's it going to sound like? So what I genuinely do, and I did this a few weeks ago actually, I make a hot cup of tea, Earl Grey, only milk. I get a slice of emergency cream cake because I've always got emergency cake in the freezer.
My kind of woman.
At the moment, it's fresh cream cake from the Gatto house. My son sent me some for the freezer for my Mother's Day present. And then I switch on the telly and I'll watch a couple of episodes of Psych, which I don't know if you've heard of, but it's a comedy detective drama where a guy pretends he's a psychic. I just
Right.
think it's so funny. And then I follow that up with an episode of Miranda. And then I'm back.
Sounds heavenly, very decadent.
I just have to have a laugh. I always end the day with a laugh. No matter what's happened, we always watch a half-hour comedy at the end of the day before bed. End the day with a laugh.
I couldn't agree with you more. Laughter's the best medicine. We were talking about fairies earlier. If I was your fairy godmother and could grant you one wish in the world, what would it be and why?
I would like cruelty to be
Mm,
abolished. Oh, I'm all teary. Sorry.
no, don't
Oh,
apologize.
it means a lot to me. Cruelty to children, to animals, to each other, to ourselves. We're better than this.
How do
What
you
else?
see how you are actually helping this at the moment? Or do you see that you are helping it?
In my own little ways, through kindness and thoughtfulness. My dream, I don't know if it'll ever happen, but my dream would be actually to start some kind of foundation for education to help with bullying, for example, not only children, but in the workplace, not only people who are victims, but also people who do the bullying. Because for people who are bullies, they're sad, they're unhappy.
I couldn't agree more. Yeah.
They need help. That's always been something that's been up there that I would love to do, but I know you need a lot of support, a lot of money to do that, and who knows what can happen in the future. That would be my
Well, make
goal.
sure you ask White Feather and the gang to pull it
I
together when
do.
the time's right.
When the time's right, guys. But yeah,
Yes.
that would be the beginning of it. It's across the board cruelty. And look what we're doing to each other all the time, whether it's little jibes, little snarky comments, right through to what's happening on the world stage.
I was really happy that you included oneself in it because I always say to people, imagine if you had to walk around with all the words and the way that you talk to yourself like a tattoo on the outside. Imagine if you did that and the kind of response that you would get back again. Be gentle and kind to yourself first off.
Oh, 100%. 100%. You've got to start with you. It's
Mm,
not being selfish. It's getting the balance right. And if you feel good and you're being honest and authentic and you're happy and you feel good about yourself and you love yourself, when you know what that really means, and it's
mm.
difficult, but when you do work it out, gosh, then you really can be so effective because let's face it, we're on the ground. We're doing spirits work down here. This is the
Yeah,
contract
yeah.
that we've made. We're here doing this work for you. We're being guided by you. And as we're being guided by you, we're checking in with you. Is this right? Is this what we said we'd do? And how can you help us while we're doing your work? That to me is the cooperation, isn't it? Between the two worlds.
Like woo-woo is another fashionable word is self-love. It's really tending to yourself and making sure that you're vibrating at the highest possible level that you can.
It is. And I think it's worthwhile, if you don't know what self-love means for you, go and find out. What's the definition of self-love? What does it mean for you?
Right.
Rather than listening to what other people say it is, what is it for you? And then practice that, be that.
I think that's a great note to leave it on because we are encouraging people to go out and making your own mind up about what something is to you. I think that is key, the key message for people to take away and to change things round. Take the lesson, but like you have done, making it your own. And together we can create absolute wonders in the world.
Well, Philippa, you're absolutely right. And with the work that you're doing and with this podcast and everything else that you've done, you're bringing such important information. you're putting it out there and you're saying, look, I'm putting the effort in to find these people and talk to them. You decide what you think and what's right for
Yes.
you, all the listeners. But without people like you doing this kind of thing, our work wouldn't be seen. So thank you for shining a light on what we're doing. I really appreciate it.
And it's all about the community coming together. So collectively, we can do great things together. It's not down to us as individuals. We're doing this as a community. Bless you for your work. And I'm so thrilled I found you.
Oh, thank you so much. It's been lovely chatting to you. And I hope we keep in touch.
I'm sure we will. And I hope the listeners pick up something valuable for themselves too. Thanks for your time. Take care.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
I hope you thoroughly enjoyed the episode with Eunice. She was very, very insightful, wasn't she? And for me, one of the big things was to ask and you will receive, to voice your needs and remain open and to receive the answers in unexpected ways. Now, if you're looking to develop your Claire skills or take a journey into your Akashic records, or want to get some spiritual counselling, be sure to use the link below to have a look at her website, the New Zealand School of Psychic Arts. And if you want to join the beginner's course, Eunice is offering a free 20-minute spiritual counselling session for anyone who mentions the podcast. If you've got any ideas for guests or subjects you'd like me to embrace in future months, then be sure to reach out, email me on info@philippaross.com. So until next month, have fun, dig deep, open your mind to a world of possibilities, live life with a generous heart, and take steps to minimize waste and maximize your potential.